schedule, Part 1B, particularly Section 6 thereof, which provides for the Council of State, that council shall have power to advise the president in the exercise of his powers. And the subjects that were enumerated in that provision, national population census.
Does the president ever listen? Because when you say all of this,
no,
because he also has a lawyer as vice president, how come a senior lawyer at that? So we wouldn't say that the president is not well guided, so to say.
You see, let us look at the provision of the law first. All right? The law says the council shall have power to advise him on national population census, prerogative of mercy, award of national honors, on INEC, on NJC, on NPC. There is nothing related to CBN there. And it is clear from the wordings of that constitution, the third schedule particularly, that the president is under no compulsion to submit any matter to that Council of State. That the president is not, even where he submits it, he is not bound by any advice given by the Council of State. And the president cannot be held accountable for both. And if you look at the provision of the National Economic Council too, it is also an advisory body, to advise the president concerning the economic affairs of the
But at
Federation.
this point, Barrister, isn't our constitution already militarized? Because obviously, if the president has this such powers,
Yes.
now he's assuming that role as a president. If it's not careful, like what you're already saying,
Yes.
he will overuse those opportunities.
Is it not part of what we had been complaining about, that the president is too powerful, just like the governors, that they are too powerful? So the problem is not in Buhari. The problem is in the constitution, that we claim to be serving our purpose.
Are we not shifting the goalpost, Barrister?
No.
If we cannot blame the man who is at the ends of affairs, because the president has the purview to say that because of precedent and because of national interest, let's look at some of this lacuna as the first man, he's the first citizen of the country to make things right. He said he wants to make things right with the cashless policy. So what is stopping him from whittling down what appears to be the powers of the executive, especially that of the president itself?
No, the president cannot do that. The president is not a lawmaker.
But he can go through the National Assembly.
If he, we have so many, majority of the bills that go through the House are actually bills emanating from the executive, no doubt about that. But the position of the law is the legislature makes the laws and the executive would implement the laws. The job of Buhari is to implement the Constitution and, of course, the various laws made by the National Assembly. I had said something in the past. When the 4 questions were submitted to the Supreme Court, I expected the Supreme Court, of course, to make a pronouncement on question number 1, which was submitted to it, and question number 3, because I felt that in a dispute between the Federation and the states, all right, it is only matters that can come within that purview that is within the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court in its original jurisdiction.
Okay.
But those things that relate to the operational independence of the CBN as provided by the CBN Act are matters that ought rightly to be subject to judicial review rather than being the Supreme Court taking up original jurisdiction on them. So that's why I am asking, because if you look at what the Supreme Court premised this judgment on, the National Economic Council, the Council of State, as far as I am concerned, the Supreme Court merely worked on assumptions rather than
because they don't have what appears to be the powers to do that.
Exactly. That's what I am saying. That's my own submission.
All right. To all our listeners and those also following us on the social media, just to let you know that if you are intending to also be on the social media in terms of leaving the house, and you can walk around with the radio, but you can walk around with your mobile set, whichever way that works for you. Do remember we're streaming live on Facebook. That's 32FM949 Ibadan on Facebook, and also the same address on YouTube, so that you can actually drop some of your comments in the course of the program this morning. We have to take a moment on the program. We'll be back shortly.
Stay tuned to
Tizeti prides itself on providing the lowest cost of unlimited internet access to residential and small business customers. You can now browse, stream, and game 247 at an amazing speed. And with an uncapped data plan, connect to Tizeti's fast unlimited internet service for just 12,500 naira only per month. What more? Visit wifi.com.ng/OYO to sign up or call 012298-786 or send email to internet@wifi.com.ng to get started now. Unlimited internet.
ẹ jẹ́ n sọ fún yín pa Zainabu bó bá ti jí láàárọ̀ yóò kọ́ jẹun tó dáa yóò wá gbé pabambarì lé lórí Didion syrup of hemoglobin vitamin B12 ara ti mókùnù ọpọlọ ti jí pépé iṣẹ́ yá.
lẹ́ òjò.
káàárọ̀ Zainab ìdí nù ti fi máa pegedé lẹ́nu iṣẹ́ rẹ̀.
jọ̀ọ́ bá náwó mọ̀wé hùn.
àti pàápàá ń bi eré Didion syrup of hemoglobin ní èròjà vitamin B12 nínú tí yóò mú kọ́pọlọ àtàrà rẹ̀ ó jí pépé ní ìgbáradì fún àṣeyọrí tí ọ̀lẹ́gbẹ́ ń gbà gbogbo. mu ṣíbí méjì Didion péré lójoojúmọ́ pẹ̀lú ṣíbí lásán tàbí kọ́ púpọ̀ pẹ̀lú ohun mímu ẹlẹ́rìndòdò tó bá fẹ́ràn. ọ̀yá gbéra ńlẹ̀ bí akọni pẹ̀lú Didion.
To be healthy, strong and active, I say. Take Didion.
Didion syrup of hemoglobin vitamin B12 agbára tí ń roni lágbára.
32 FM 94.9.
All right, you're welcome back. You're still on to the podium on 32 FM 94.9. My name is GBOLABO, famous school, and of course, Barrister is still here. Barrister, I want to say one or two things on the on the judgment of the Supreme Court itself.
I think it is really very, very saddening. You know, Nigerians have sacrificed so much. We have lost some people who have died. You know, we have some who have been maimed. You know, and so many other things that have happened. One would have expected, you know, that where we're at, the Supreme Court will not take us back again.
It doesn't make any sense.
It will rather move us forward, because most Nigerians are beginning now, you know, to live the new reality. You go everywhere now, people are transferring money, people are, you know, using the cashless policy is beginning to sink into
the brains. Yes, even to an elderly person here.
Which is a welcome development. Nigerians suffered to get there. How can the Supreme Court now come and take us back again?
It is retrogressive.
Retrogressive.
It is.
Because as far as I am concerned, it appears the Supreme Court is working for its friends who have the bulk of this money.
Right, so that could be speculative.
No, of course.
Thank God you are coming from that particular cycle. You're also in the law profession
but
itself.
Because this is what it is. Look, money. What I feel the Supreme Court ought to have done is ask the parties to go back home and, you know, settle how the new Naira notes will be made available to everybody.
Exactly.
How the new Naira notes will be made available to everybody. And then you come back. You know, not take us back. We have left that stage. We have left that stage, and that's what we have been complaining about in this country. This policy somersaults. Government should work in tandem. The executive, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary should work in tandem. But when you now see this kind of arrangement where everybody is facing its own direction and we think there is nothing to connect all of us together, it's not good enough.
Now we're going back to December 2023. Does that make sense?
The suffering,
it doesn't really make any sense.
All that Nigerians have sacrificed
was a waste.
All that Nigerians have sacrificed. Are you now saying, okay, they go back there? How would Nigerians who suffered so much, queuing before banks and all that for their new notes, now feel being fed?
It doesn't add up at all.
No, I feel the way to have gone is to, of course, put a lot more pressure on the Apex Bank to ensure that enough of that currency is available within a specified time, you know, following which, if they fail, then we can take action. But to reverse this policy the way they have done,
it doesn't make any sense.
I don't like it.
All right, Barrister, I also wanted us to look at developments around our political space. I know there've been a lot of development and many people actually raised eyebrows, especially looking at those that appears to be bitter with the way the outcome of the elections has been like. But before we go on the insert, some of the insert and sound bites that we'll have from some of these politicians, including Obasanjo. We have Dati, who was the is the vice presidential candidate of Peter Obi at the presidential election itself. And of course, Peter Obi himself criticizing, condemning the process of the election itself. But now, if you have to put your head or wrap your head around this, what do we make out of this? This is humongous for us because preparing for the elections was expensive.
It was
now,
expensive.
Can we go back?
Let me take it from here. It is really very, very unfortunate that the people who initially defended, the charade called elections in Nigeria are the people who are today complaining. In 1999, elections were not free and fair. In 2003, 2007, 2011, elections were not free. And some people were very, very happy, Now, they defended everything that happened. They came up with the idea of do or die, That's the Obasanjo group. And now, very, very sadly, they are the ones who are complaining. And what I have been saying is, you see, those who sow the wind cannot be heard to be complaining when they reap the whirlwind. Another point that I want to make on that, is I think it was reckless. It was really reckless of our father, Obasanjo, to have come out the way he did, because what he did,
You called it reckless?
It was very,
Wow.
very reckless, because that could have set the whole place on fire.
Wow.
We don't want any fire. There is no election that has been conducted in Nigeria that has been free and fair or be called credible. No, there is none. There has not been any. We're 24 years in this democratic journey, and you can see that as we are going along, we are making improvements, like that. You see, the only pain I had was between 1999 and 2011. I think I was the best friend of the ACN, now at the last election. I saw that we suddenly became enemies. We are no longer on the same page. Why? Because what we had condemned earlier, because they were now the beneficiaries, they felt it was all right. And I don't think that is good enough, for our democracy, that we should not be thinking just about self. We should be thinking about the collective. Personal greed must never be allowed to overtake community good. But that is what appears, to be unfolding. Look at the election. Majority have labeled it a sham, and I want to agree with them. We saw all that happened, all the political parties. Some are saying, APC. No, it wasn't APC alone that rigged the election. It was,
so
it
you were
was not
saying
only
Barrister
APC that marred the
categorically that the elections were rigged?
Of course, it
Wow.
was. There's ample evidence. We saw things that came in from Imo. We saw what came in from Anambra. We saw what came in from
But was it a
Bayelsa.
usual kind of, let's say, alleged rigging here? Because it used to be a case of vote buying, like what we've seen in the past.
Yes.
But now that never happened because people were not moving around with cash. So
Yes.
how would we say this rigging happened?
Well, because people had gotten used to the new system, that INEC had introduced. I think the greatest rigor of the election, the presidential election, was INEC itself.
Wow.
Yes, INEC was the greatest rigor. But APC, PDP, and Labour Party made their contributions to rigging too. It's very, very
All
obvious.
the candidates, all the parties here.
But the three major parties, particularly the three major parties.
Wow.
Yes.
Including
APC,
Peter Obi.
Including Peter Obi.
All right, on that note, Barrister,
so-
that's quite new because Peter Obi is somebody who goes on with the trend no shishi, meaning no
Yes.
money.
Yes.
And now for him to be part of these corrupt processes and still coming out to complain that the processes was actually maligned and there were a lot of anomalies. And now you're also making a point that he's also part of the problem.
Oh, yes.
It's huge. All right, let's take this one. Let's take this one from Obasanjo. Then we'll move over to Dati and, of course, Peter Obi and Dino Melaye back to back. And let's listen to what they said earlier about the electoral process itself.
At this stage, we do not need wittingly or wittingly to set this country on fire with the greed, irresponsibility, and unpatriotic act of those who allegedly gave money to INEC officials for perversion and those who collected the blood money. Let me appeal to the chairman of INEC, if his hands are clean, to save Nigeria from the looming danger and disaster which is just waiting, can postpone elections 4 days to the election 4 years ago. He can do everything to rectify the errors of the last 2 days. No beavers, no result to be acceptable. And no uploading through server, no result to be acceptable. Whereas beavers and servers have been manipulated or rendered inactive, such result where beavers and servers have been manipulated or rendered inactive, such results must be declared void and inadmissible for election declaration. Chairman INEC, I have thought that you will use this wonderful opportunity to mend your reputation and character for posterity. Your Excellency, President Muhammadu Buhari, tension is building up, and please let all elections that do not pass the credibility and transparency test be cancelled and be brought back, with areas where elections were disrupted for next Saturday, March 4, 2023. And beavers and saver officials be changed. To know which stations or polling units were manipulated, let a committee of INEC staff and representatives of the 4 major political parties with the chairman of Nigeria Bar Association look.
Violence, voter intimidation, and suppression. The election was conducted in clear violation of agreed and promised INEC rules and guidelines, the Electoral Act 2002 as amended, and indeed the Nigerian Constitution. The institutions of the state and leaders that were supposed to ensure the sanctity of the election collaborated and colluded to subvert the will of the good people of Nigeria. Please be assured of our determination to fight the injustice that have been perpetrated on Nigerians through all legal and peaceful means. We implore you all to please remain peaceful and calm.
The election that we just witnessed have been conducted and results announced as programmed. It is a clear version from electoral rules and guidelines. As we were promised, this election, as you know, did not meet the minimum standard expected of a free, transparent, credible, fair election. It will go down as one of the most controversial elections ever conducted in Nigeria. The good and hardworking people of Nigeria have again been robbed by our supposed leaders whom they trusted. However, let me humbly and most respectfully appeal to all Nigerians to remain peaceful, law-abiding, and conduct themselves in most responsible manner. Please be assured that Dati and I, and indeed all of us, this is not the end, but the beginning of the journey for a better new Nigeria.
90% of the states' result that was presented announced overvoting. Strongholds of the PDP, they declared overvoting and cancelled results in those areas. I have done a computation of all the overvotings recorded, amounted to over 2 million votes. But because they do not want the margin of cancelled votes to be more than the margin of winning, they reduced it to 900 and something. But it is a fallacious lie. It is a malicious lie. It will not stand. I want to announce to Bola Ahmed Tinubu that your victory is temporal and evaporative. And the battle to salvage Nigeria from these economic cankerworms and financial scavengers, from these demons in power, for us is a battle of no retreat, no surrender.
Safasa pelisizo simnyama Iwasafa Isizo saba Kavula mo Haniko kalize Wemaye wemodo Safasa pelisizo simnyama Iwasafa Isizo saba Kavula mo Haniko kalize Wemaye kala Pasapasa pelisizo siyama Iwasafa Isizo sabantu
All right, you're welcome back, and you're still on to the podium here on 32 FM 94.9. Of course, Barrister Yomi Ogunola is still with us in the studios, and obviously we'll be having our guest joining us online this morning once we pull through. And of course, now we want to engage you as our listeners. Of course, we're stream live. We are on live on Facebook. We stream live on Facebook right about now. You can also join us and drop some of your comments that you may have in terms of national development and, of course, the electoral process so far. And, of course, for you to join us on Facebook, we are 32FM 949 Ibadan on Facebook and also on YouTube. And also, we'll be opening the phone lines right about now while we wait for our guests to also join us in the course of this discussion itself. The numbers are 070-550-949 or 080-970-949. And for the international number, you could call us at +234 96 2000 949 for you to also call us there. All right, then. Okay, Barrister, we'll still have you here looking at some of the electoral process. But the most amazing thing that you said this morning is that many of our other political parties here, not just beyond the individuals that we are thinking, were part of the electoral process, that every of the candidates and the political parties also have their share of blame, because the accusing fingers appears to be pointed at just the APC here. And quickly, let me just also let our listeners know that we have Professor Remi Ayede also joining us as one of our panelists here this morning. And Professor has been on a sojourn to Abuja. And of course, you monitor the election. So,
all right. You will not chop egusi mixed with ogbono.
We are not part of the problem anyway. All right, Barrister. So quickly, yes. You've actually said every of the political parties and their candidate have a share in the process itself.
Yes, because there is no doubt about it. It is really ludicrous, really, that having invested that much money, almost 400 billion, and the best INEC could give us was this flagitious electoral process. But the fact remains the fact. We saw what happened in Imo, we saw what happened in Enugu, we saw what happened in Anambra, we saw what happened in Ebonyi, we saw what happened in Lagos. In Kano, about 13 people were roasted alive. And two others died. That's on the one hand. Secondly, the fact that INEC reneged on the agreement, that had been that was signed by virtually every participant, all stakeholders, that results will be uploaded from the polling units, all right, to the point where the law provided for, it was a big disaster. And we also saw cases of INEC officials that had compromised the system. So there is no doubt about it that.
But do we have evidence for some of these things? Because compromise is a huge allegation.
We saw some. We saw some. Some people actually admitted, how well they will be able to present their cases in court is another ball game entirely. But from what we saw, none of the parties, at least the three major parties, can be exonerated from what happened. But the biggest rigor of the election is INEC itself.
Wow, that is huge. But now we have Prof on ground in Abuja to monitor the process. Now, looking at what Barrister has said itself, what do we make out of INEC? That is supposed to be unbiased and, of course, neutral in the whole process itself.
I think it's very clear that INEC failed Nigerians.
You would say that so categorically?
Yes, it's very clear because when you go to the field and then you are at the polling unit by 8:30 a.m. and no official, no material to be found until probably later in the day. And in some places, the logistics challenges were so much that people started voting when vote was supposed to have ended at 2:30 p.m. That means INEC did not get its acts together. And it's very clear that that was the first major pitfall of this election. People then went into the collation center in the night. Some were still voting in the night. Vote was being counted in the night without electricity. And you have people either volunteering their generator or volunteering their rechargeable lamp or their torchlight. So these are very unacceptable situation. On top of it, as if that was not enough, when officials at the polling unit level were supposed to upload the results to the IRF portal, they were simply unable to do so. And as if that was also not enough, INEC could not provide explanation for the terrible state of things until late in the evening on Sunday, when they issued a very tough statement that did not provide sufficient explanation of the challenges that they were facing. And then, of course, they went on with the announcement of the results at the National Collation Center when they know that less than 20% of the polling unit results have been uploaded. So, of course, INEC promised that it was going to continue with the uploading of the results to the IRF, even when people suspected that there was pressure on it not to do so by some politicians and political parties. So it was really a disappointment for many Nigerians, and that accounted for the integrity question around the election. Otherwise, imagine if everything went smoothly, materials arrive at the polling units on time, and then the IRF portal worked well, and the result is like this. Everybody will go home and say, that's it. Otherwise, we would have all been celebrating that we have peaceful elections.
But do we heap all the blames on INEC here? Because
not necessarily, because
obviously INEC complained about delay in the release of their monies, the costing for the elections and logistics at a point in time.
They couldn't have complained about money.
They said it wasn't released in good time. As at that, I could still remember INEC saying that the monies are yet to be released, and eventually they had it released.
I don't know which money you are talking about, because
the running cost
because
of INEC at a point in time.
They were giving money over a year ago. INEC, according to the Electoral Act, they should get their money a year before, and then that's why the president made bold to say, we have given you this money and the election must hold. So if they have problems, probably the problem will be the
ad hoc staff.
No, what came out of the Naira redesign, which made them enter into an arrangement with the CBN. So that cash will be released. Now, that's quite different. And then you can also look, okay, when did the cash problem start? And when was the budget of INEC approved? And what have they done before that time? And in any case, he has assured us that the ECBN has also assured him, and that the NNPC has also assured them that there will be
a tweet on Twitter indicating that Obi is an opportunist. INEC liked that tweet. You remember that? INEC liked that tweet. They can't deny it. And a lot of PVCs in thousands were discovered in some parts of, I think, Anambra State. That couldn't have happened without INEC being compromised. It's impossible. And these people are taking us for fools in this country. In 2023, you see some of those report sheets mutilated. Even my further maths rough sheets back in schools were never that rough. We've seen these report sheets being imposed. We've seen papers being imposed on report sheets and another figures being written on them. INEC is playing with fire in this country. And to those sharing these results, shame on them, because this fraud will never stand. It seems they don't know that this country is on the edge already.
We will not be on the edge. Well, let's pray that we will not be on the edge. Even Lebanon and Israel would not.
Can I still speak?
Yes, please go ahead.
If this was the sort of election Jonathan conducted, Buhari wouldn't have emerged in this country. Even though I'm sure the election wasn't, you can't say it was 100% fair and fair, but this is absolute fraud. This is fraud. You are trying to impose, you put us in misery already for 8 years. This APC administration has been a pain. I've been subjected to pain, misery. Now you are leaving us, you want to impose an unwanted human being, an unwanted fraud on us.
All right.
And we are already being made.
All right, Wale, I will have to let you go.
I'm sure you have seen some posts online.
Yes. Thank you so much for calling.
I don't know how, if the police, we see thugs intimidating people in Lagos State. And so in particular.
All right, Wale. Wale, I know you are one passionate Nigeria, but at the same time, we would also employ that no matter how emotional you are, we should not set the country ablaze. We still are a country, and instances like this is a process to a good governance and, of course, good democracy, because we have a voice to speak about what we do not like. But the choice of language, getting personal, we must really avoid it, because we all have all our preferences. All right, we have to take this moment. We have to pay some bills. We'll be back shortly.
Stay tuned to 32 FM 94.9.
ẹ̀gbọ́n ìjàre ìmọ̀lẹ́ ọlọ ìjàre àti pọnmi kéré kalẹ̀ ọ̀dẹ̀ ní gbọ́ àfẹ́dẹ́ lọ́mì ó dàgẹ́ gbogbo orí ẹ̀ ló pé pérépéré.
tí olúwa nílẹ̀ àti ẹkún rẹ̀.
ayé àti àwọn tó mọ̀ tán rẹ̀.
ẹlẹ́wọ̀n gbà.
kò lè má rí bẹ́ẹ̀ onírúurú talẹ̀talẹ̀ ló ń bẹ nílẹ̀ yìí ṣùgbọ́n àrà ọ̀tọ̀ ni Danabits Homes and Properties torí wọ́n fi ni lọ́kàn balẹ̀ àwọn tó ti bá wọn dòwò pọ̀ tẹ́lẹ̀ rí ni wọ́n ti lè sọ àǹfààní tó ń bẹ lọ́dọ̀ wọn àwọn ni wọ́n ń ta ilẹ̀ Victory Estate phase 1 àti phase 2 alábàtà mọ́níyà tí ò kọjá ìṣẹ́jú mẹ́ta sí railway terminal ìfà ńlá tó ni Treasure Estate tó wà ní Ìdó lẹ́bàá University wọ́n ń gbèrò ẹ̀ Favour Estate náà wà ní Mòwe tí ò sì kọjá agbára má sọ ọmọ ní ti Joyce Cotton Gardens tó wà níwájú Bethel American International School Ìrókò lójú ọ̀nà Ìbàdàn sílùú Ọ̀yọ́ 550,000 naira péré ni àti bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ lórí àwọn ilẹ̀ yìí ìrọ̀rùn ló bá dé torí owó wọn kò gara bọ́rọ̀ èèyàn bá wá ní jásí irú ti bàbá Ìjẹ̀ṣà eré tètè lọ sí ọ́fíìsì wọn ní Prime Time Plaza ọba Alẹ́ṣinlọ́yẹ́ phase 2 lẹ́bàá Bidin petrol station lálẹ́ṣinlọ́yẹ́ Ìbàdàn sanwó kó gbalẹ̀ lójú ọgán ọ̀fẹ́ sì ní corner piece lọ́dọ̀ wọn àyè san díẹ̀díẹ̀ tún wà níbẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àlàyé ẹ ṣáà ti pè wọ́n sórí 090-477-97352 tàbí 081-884-18137 Danabits Homes and Properties àwọn ni wọ́n sọ ilé kíkọ́ dìrọ̀rùn fọmọ aráyé.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Safa sapeli sizwe simnyama Safa.
All right, you're welcome back. The numbers are still 070-55,949 or 080-979,949. And you can also call us internationally plus 234-90-62,949. I guess we have a caller here. Let's take this call. Okay. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Do we have a caller here? All right, let's move on very quickly. Prof, you're actually getting at something and you didn't really mind word at all. All right, let's take this. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, please, can you turn down the audio on your radio set so that we can hear you well? Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's the name and where are you calling us from?
This is Babs from LA.
All right, Olede, where are you calling us from?
From LA.
Oh, from LA. What's the name?
Babs.
All right, go ahead, Babs.
I salute the two guests in the house for their contribution so far. I quite believe that since Nigeria came into being, I don't think there was any election ever conducted to be free and fair as such. Having said that, all of us, we've come to the conclusion that this election was compromised. Are we saying that Peter Obi did not win Lagos? Are we saying that Buhari did not lose his state? Masari lost Katsina? Bajabi Amina lost the what? I don't really understand what we mean. People that went on here to incite Nigerians are very, very wise. So you can't use intimidation or anything else to say that the election was rigged. Just like what the barrister said, all of them, all, except that we are looking for something else. But I believe that Nigerians are more sensible than ever before. Good morning.
All right, good morning, Babs, and thank you for dropping that. Barrister. Okay, let me go to Barrister. Would you want to respond to that?
Well, you know that majority of Nigerians would no doubt have their biases, but from the evidence, that we have so far, I think it points in that direction that elections were compromised, in a lot of places. It is not. It is not a good conclusion to draw. That because elections, somebody won in Lagos, somebody lost Katsina, another one lost his bid to go into the House, and that is the only justification for a free and fair election, because we have to take them piecemeal. We all saw what happened. In the East, there is evidence, that was shown to everybody, except it is disproved that there were underage voters. We also saw that happening in some parts of the North. Those things compromised the election. We saw violence in the East. We saw it in Imo. We saw it in Enugu. We saw it in Bayelsa. We saw it in Lagos. And we saw it in Kano. We saw deliberate disenfranchisement of Nigerians. Some people, deliberately keeping voters out. I think somebody also said something, not too earlier. I think one of the callers about PVCs that were dumped, in gutters, in
forests,
and whatnot. But I think, like my prof said, the major wahala that we encountered was with INEC, because INEC did not live above board. We had all agreed, because if INEC had gone according to the rules of the game, we should not be having the problems we have now, because the BVAS, that we introduced was supposed to have taken care of all the problems we had when we were using the card reader and all that. So it ought to have been an improvement. And if the uploading had been done, we would have had a seamless election. But unfortunately, it didn't go that way.
All right, and the numbers are still 070-55,949 or 080-970-949 for you to drop your comments this morning. And of course, do remember we're also streaming live on our social media platforms, 32FM 949 Ibadan, and of course that same address on YouTube. Hello, good morning.
Uncle and the family.
Good morning.
My name is David.
All right, where are you calling us from? All right, please go ahead.
From All
right, go ahead.
Yes, I agree completely that I make lack of transparency explaining why the results were not sent real time to the INEC server and to the IRS. The point that makes us decide that it's INEC compromised. But I want to ask some serious questions. The mutilations, the translations in some polling units in some words, were they done by the INEC server? There was a place in the Southeast where a professor was being taken up for changing the election results in favor of the Labour Party. And she could not say anything. And she looked so guilty and so dumb that she had been found out. There are videos of people of Yoruba extraction doing details of voting for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the southeast. There are videos of people being lined up and make a complaint. Their fingers were being put on the ballot paper for Peter Obi in the southeast. So I agree with the barrister that all the major political parties probably contributed to this whole thing. But the singular fault that INEC has, as far as I'm concerned, is the fact that they did not provide a reasonable reason for why the results were not transmitted in real time to the IRS portal server as agreed. That is the only thing. But to say that, and I disagree with the barrister, that it doesn't matter that Lagos was lost by the APC for the first time, that the president lost Katsina State, that Masai lost Katsina State, that Erufai lost Kaduna State. It showed that the election was to a large extent one of the best in Nigeria, if not for the fact that the INEC did not transmit the results any time to the IRS as agreed. Ordinarily, who would have thought that Lalong would have lost the state? He played a key role in the APC. I think he was the chairman of something or something. He lost in Plateau State. So we just have to be careful. And I thank God that the Labour Party person, the Labour Party presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate, in finishing their speeches, they're always telling Nigerians to be calm. President Muhammadu Buhari lost elections in this country twice before he eventually won the fourth time. The only time he went to the streets, we saw what happened in 2011. A lot of core members were killed. And lest I forget, there was a tweet on social media where a core member of Eastern Extraction, Southeastern Extraction, was saying that he was a presiding officer of INEC in the election, and he was saying that Obi was the way, that Obi had to win. So the whole idea, the problem INEC had mostly, as far as I'm concerned, came chiefly from the ad hoc staff who owed their loyalty to either because they are from Northern Extraction, or because they are from Southwestern Extraction, or because they are from Southeastern Extraction. So even without the INEC chairman telling them to do anything, they were already doing things in favor of who they felt should win. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for dropping that line of thoughts. Prof, I also wanted you to say one or two things, but before we go ahead with that, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. What's the name and where you're calling us from?
This is another Kazim from Ibadan.
All right, please go ahead, Kazim.
I've listened to Barrister Yomi Ogunlola on several radio stations after the concluded presidential election. Barrister was totally condemning the outcome of the election. That's why the fact that just because he didn't favor their previous candidate, which I know is Peter Obi, that is just it. On different fora, you will see Barrister saying the election was rigged, the election was rigged. Okay, look at the evidences given by the first caller in Southeast. We saw the video where people were being fully thumbprinting for Peter Obi. We saw it. You didn't talk about that one. Now, the thing is this. Let them take the whole issue to court. Even Barrister can even join the party at the court and one of the lawyers in order to present the evidences. If Peter Obi will definitely do it. That is just it.
All right, thank you so much, Kazim. The barrister, do you want to react?
Yes, unfortunately for you, Kazim, you started from a very, very wrong premise. I never at any time supported the candidates that you mentioned. My candidate lost. My candidate is Wole Adebayo of SDP, and he lost honorably without any rigging and what have you. And for every other comment that you made, well, now you Sabio, because I get right to my own opinion, you just as you have yours.
All right, that said, Prof, I wanted you to also react. You didn't mind words in some of these things that you said, and you were on ground. You know, that's why I'm so amazed.
You see, when we're talking about the problem with the INEC process that failed, we are talking in terms of the opportunity is provided for this kind of malpractices that we are talking about. Because if you have followed the election very well, you will know that the interval between results recording at the polling unit and the period when it is then taken to the collation center is actually where a lot of shenanigans, a lot of manipulation happens. Now, what the IRF portal does is that if immediately after filling out the record sheets, the result sheet and then they've been signed by the political parties and their agents, the result is immediately uploaded into the INEC portal. It removes that possibility of manipulating the results, changing figures and all of that normally happens between the polling unit and the collation center. What it then, and because that is actually the main reason why IREV portal was introduced. So that if there's any discrepancies between the outcome and what is written in the result, or there's doubt about the mutilation on the result sheet, we can easily go to the IREV portal to compare
some of these discrepancies.
Yes, but now once you remove that from it, then the result sheets are open to all kind of manipulation, and that's why you find that if you go to INEC portal now that they've uploaded a lot of it, you see some report sheets, they are just totally meaningless because they've written figures, they've cancelled it, they put all kinds of things, and then you ask yourself, if this result sheet was posted as soon as it was signed by all the party agents and the presiding officer,
would we have
all
had
of those things.
this
Now,
problems?
we can't say exactly the volume of that kind of malpractice, because if the malpractice that have occurred at that level is very huge, then it makes complete nonsense of the entire election process. Now we are now put in a situation where we have to wait for the parties to collate what they have gotten from their agents and compare it with the current things that have been uploaded, because they were uploaded very late after the event or the whatever malpractices anybody wants to portray would have been done. So that's where we have to wait until a review is done, or the courts are looking to all of those submissions before we have an idea what actually transpired in that interval. That's where the blame, on INEC
largely lies.
Yes.
Okay, let's take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Do we have a caller here? Okay, the numbers are still 070-55,949, or you could call 080-97,949, and for our international line, +234 90 62,949 for you to be part of this discussion. But my question here is that, are we going to see that the beavers did not work?
No, it has nothing to do with beavers.
All?
No, it has not, because the beavers did the recording of the accreditation, which is the data that is supposed to be there. The beavers was not supposed to be used to snap the result sheet and then upload. Now, they didn't say they were not able to snap the result sheet. What the problem was that they were not able to upload.
Exactly.
Now, the question then is, that failure to upload, is it deliberate, or is it as a result of the breakdown of the INEC portal?